Let's start with, so Matt, you played here, and then in 1991 and 1992, Jim, you're going to get hired here. And Jeff, you've been the sophomore coach for, how many years were you the sophomore coach for?
11 years total. So
11 years, okay.
86.
Jim, can you talk a little bit about what it was like coming over here?
Well,
92.
yeah, I had been in my alma mater for 6 years, and I got let go, and I was pretty crushed. And I knew Jeff through AAU and then Clem Haskins camps, and asked him if he needed a hand. Came on, and it was back in the day where you were just hungry and you wanted to be a part of things and learn and stuff. And I got over here, and the first thing I realized is, you see all the numbers on the wall with the championships and whatever, but when we had our Christmas break, the alumni would come in and play, and that's what really hit me, was the amount of relationships and the tightness and the closeness of the whole program. And that's what really impressed me about it right off the shot.
And so you were here for?
I was here for 1 year.
1 year.
Yep.
And then you left?
I went to Albert Lee as a head coach for 1 year, and then Minneapolis Southwest for 3 years, and then I came back.
You made a pretty good impression on him in that 1 year. He left after 1 year and went someplace else.
Okay, great. Jeff, you're going to interview and get the job in 1996. And you were going to come on board in
Well, I was the head coach at Minneapolis Southwest, and I was ready to get out.
Okay.
And I just had talked to Jeff and said, if something happens, or your dad retires and Jake doesn't want to help out, I'd be willing to come in.
Okay.
And it fell into place.
Okay. And Matt, I feel like you helped during my senior year, I think, in 1994.
Yep. So I came back, 93 or 94, and I helped Jeff with the sophomores, volunteer, came back, asked if I could help out, and I think that was 3 years before you got the job. So whatever dates that were, but yeah, so I was his little helper buddy for 3 years and had some good times, and yeah.
96, 97, first year. What do you remember from your first year? You're 15-8 that year. The MVP of that season, I think, was Jared Peck. I just have to find it here. What was it like?
Sounds
first
right.
year.
It was Peck.
Was it?
I think it was
What
Peck.
I remember about that year was our first game was against the number 3 team in the state, Eden Prairie. I think the third team in the state, I think it was Eden Prairie, and they had a pretty good team coming back, and
Ryan Iverson was playing with them then, wasn't he?
playing that team.
Christian Leitner, didn't he play for them?
That seemed like it. That seemed like it, and what a way to start.
Yeah, Ryan Iverson, did he go play at the basketball team?
Delaware or something.
Yeah. He was
He
a
started off with
player.
football, and then he went to played basketball.
Okay. And what kind of things did you bring that you had utilized from your dad and Coach Lynch? What kind of things did you do to keep things the same within the program?
I think we had a bunch of good athletes. We had a bunch of good kids. I think from that group, well, you mentioned Peck and you mentioned Justin Hall. Both played football at a high level, and I think Jared even made it to the NFL a couple of years, or 10-day contracts or whatever, the NFL, whatever that is. But we had a bunch of, John Nuss was another kid, another good athlete, and Markwell, and just a bunch of good athletes. Three sport players, the kind of kids that we've always had around here, and you just try to utilize their athleticism as best you can. And we weren't by any means a graceful team, but we had some big kids.
Okay. And then going from year 1 to year 2, did you feel more comfortable? Just talk about the process of evolving from that first year and into the second year.
Well, I think Jefferson has always been pretty successful, and with my dad and Jake, and I just I didn't want to fall flat on our face, I guess. So we learned an awful lot, game to game. I think my first year, just realizing. I think with every game, maybe gaining a little bit more confidence. So we just didn't want to destroy the whole program and fall flat on our face and embarrass ourselves. But we were learning. We were learning from game to game, week to week.
Matt, what do you remember?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough, Jeff offered me the sophomore job, and which was great because it kind of, I ran my own practices and things like that. But I hadn't known Jimmy before that, and one of the great things is I think we grew a pretty strong friendship, and I think that helped a lot in, you could disagree with each other, you could bring up points and say yes, no, and be respectful, and one of the great things about Jeff was, he allowed me to coach my sophomores. He allowed Jimmy to have great input into what they're doing, and we all brought different things to it. But during that first year too, it was, I was doing most of the scouting, and then Jimmy and I would try to get out as much as possible and do some scouting, and so we were trying to figure that stuff out too. And I didn't know if I was doing the right thing in scouting. Was I bringing the right information? Or, but being good friends, I think, really helped us kind of solidify us as a coaching staff too. And I think the kids benefited from that too. And we had so much fun, and I think we brought that to the teams too. So, yeah, the first year is kind of getting to know each other and what everybody's going to bring.
And that's one thing that I learned from watching my dad and Jake work together all those years. They became pretty good friends. And like to have coaches, if you can have any success as your team, having that tight-knit group of players you want, it's got to start from the coaching staff. I think that's where the coaching staff was with your dad and my dad. And then, so I knew Jimmy, I knew Matt, but they didn't know each other. So I think we met at Joe Sensor's, I think, and I was very nervous how these guys would.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to like each other. And now they're better friends with each other than they are with me probably. And that's how our coaching staff grew. And I don't think it'll ever be as good as it was those first couple of years. And all three of us. Matt taught Phi Ed here, so he had a desk right across from me. So we'd bounce ideas off each other in between classes, and which was beneficial. And so I don't think it'll be as good as it was those first couple of years as far as having that coaching camaraderie.
Yeah.
It was a good start too, having us meet at a bar, so that worked out well.
Yeah. Okay. After Matt's first scouting ordeal, he brought back the box score out of the paper, and we kind of had to work him through that. That's an old running joke around here.
The second year, as I'm looking here, 97, 98, Tim Brown was the most valuable player, and really a good player that ended up playing Gustavus, I think.
Mankato State first. Yeah.
Mankato, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
What do you remember about him? So Tim Brown, Steve Nestle,
Yep. Never could have his shoes tied.
Eric Schneider,
Yep.
Yeah.
Mark.
and Mike Liebens.
Liebens. Mark Heffron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was Tim a sophomore?
Yes.
Yeah, because
So he was the MVP as a sophomore.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he started at my practice, and after one day, I'm like, he has no business being on the sophomore
Yeah.
team.
I remember his first game when he got in. I think we were playing ECU, Egan, or somebody like that. And Jeff put him up there, and I said, well, the Lake Conference is going to find out who Tim Brown is. And he was one of our finest shooters we've had, period. But that year is a real pivotal year because I think we were one of the first teams in the Lake Conference to bring the run and jump in. We were one of the first.
Okay.
I'm almost positive of that. And we had a couple different series of that we've done, and since then we've streamlined that. But I think that changed the Lake Conference. Because when Jeff and I started off, it was still a lot of zone. There's some man-to-man and stuff, but it was a lot of zone. But we brought the run and jump in. And I think that changed the conference.
Can we talk a little bit about the coaches, if you remember the different coaches in the league during that time period?
We've switched so many leagues.
You have to.
Well, it wouldn't have been Lake Conference, and so.
Yeah, so you'd have,
When, what's his name, was at Eden Prairie?
Tobin?
Tobin was there.
Player.
Mike Tobin.
yeah, and then Rosemont had Bender. Burnsville had Bull.
Oh, yeah.
Lakeville North was Johnny Oxton still.
Valley had,
Apple Valley had Elness.
Elness.
Yeah, and then Eastview was Dean, and then it became Gerber.
Yeah.
Kennedy.
Those are some really good coaches.
We always thought there was we had a pretty good coaching fraternity, good group of guys.
Did you get along?
For the most part, yeah.
For
I
the
think
most part?
first couple of years, I proposed something that whoever wins the conference championship, he has got to organize a summer golf tournament for all the coaches. We did that for a couple of years. And then we went out at Crystal Lake and just kind of got together in the summer. I know my dad, he coached the coaching fraternity. They got together a lot, preseason meeting with coaches and wives, and a postseason.
They
get
did?
Together. Yeah.
Really?
They did a lot of that stuff. Yeah, back in the early 70s, they did that stuff with the wives and everything. My dad just got together with Whitey Johnson last Saturday, last
Really?
Friday, and they recalled some of those stories. Whitey Johnson and Craig Johnson, and so times have changed a little bit. But,
Egan had Kurt Virgin.
Kurt
Yeah.
Virgin.
Sure.
Oh, who we listen? Who did Kennedy have before you? They had
Cassidy.
They had Klingman.
But when-
Klingman was before that.
Yeah.
Stroman, Finiseth.
Stroman came back for 1 year.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about fitness.
Yeah, they went through quite a few, though.
Yeah.
So some really good
It was a good
coaches.
group of
Yeah.
coaches.
Yeah.